Hi, it's Russ from Pro Tools Expert, and I want to show you quite quickly, actually, it doesn't take long to figure this one out, how to future-proof your Pro Tools sessions to create archives that are not dependent even on Pro Tools. What I mean by that is that when you have an archive, often it's related to the DAWs. If you're in Logic, if you open it, it's got all the plugins and it's got all the audio and stuff like that. And if you need to do a quick remix, or you need to change things, or you need to do anything really, then you normally would have to open it in the DAW that you created it in. So I'm going to show you now, using Pro Tools, how to create an archive of your Pro Tools session that even if you haven't got a copy of Pro Tools, you could still open it and still mix it. There's a couple of things you want to know before you start to do this. So I've got a session here. And the first thing I want to talk about is the plugins, because that's one area where you could get stuck. So the first thing I want to talk about is that when you use plugins, there are two ways in any DAW to save it. You can save them within the plugin architecture, or you can save them within the DAW architecture. So at the moment, I've got H delay here, let's say, on this delay channel, and I've got it set up. Now, at the moment, I could save it here. Now, that would be a preset within Pro Tools, so that if I wanted to change that later, then if I came here, there's none at the moment. So if I went save as, I'd go Russ delay for the purpose of this. So there's one called Russ delay in there. If I go in there, it's named there. Now that's a Pro Tools preset within Pro Tools. But the point is, if I then go and open this in Logic or in Reaper or anything like that, then I won't be able to open that preset because it's in the architecture of Pro Tools. So what you can do, and more plugins are doing this, FabFilter do it, Waves do it, Isotope do it, Exponential Audio do it. It's well worth you saving stuff that uses its own plugin preset menus. Universal Audio do it as well. So what I can then do is I can come in and I can go save here. I can save that in the architecture of this plugin, or the architecture of FabFilter. And as I say, if I was using Universal Audio instead, then I could do it in a Universal Audio plugin. And again, just come in here just to show you that. Let's say, for example, I was using, and I do a lot on mixes, I use the ATR 102. So there's my ATR 102 preset I've now got in, and as you can see, I can come in here and there's presets. But what I can also do instead is come here and save that preset, and I could call it Russ Tape. So Russ Tape now is not saved in here. You can see it's not in there. We can't find it. It won't be there. However, if you go here and I go load preset, Russ Tape is there. And so if we now come over to, let's say, Logic for the purpose of this experiment, and we come to H delay and we click on it and open it, we can see that Russ Life Goes, which is the delay, is there. And if we just plug in another plugin for a second, we go to audio units, get to Universal Audio, ATR 102. Now again, there's the standard stuff, the factory presets. But if I then come here instead at the bottom and load preset, there's Russ Tape Effects. Open that, and that's now the presets. So it's well worth bearing in mind to use that as your plugin presets. So let's go back to Pro Tools for the point of this. Now the next things you want to do then is two things. If you're going to save an archive and you want to make it future-proof in every way possible, so not only future-proof in the sense of it working just in Pro Tools, but future-proof for anything, first thing I'd do is I'd mark all of my stems and actually go a bit further than I would normally. And then I'd consolidate all the regions. Now that's a shortcut on your keyboard, but you can also do it here, there, and it's going to go through, and it's going to go through each track. And as you can see, it's rendering them, going one by one. And after a little while, what we'll end up with is audio that's the same length on every track. It's just finishing them off. So now when we come out of there, they're all the same length. So I can drag those into any audio editor, any DAW, and they'll work straight away. Now that's the first thing you want to do. And then what you can do, you can export those all as audio. And we come to clips here, our clip window, and we mark them all. In fact, the best thing to do is to grab the all groups, grab them, export clips as files, and then you export them. Now there's one small thing I do, because it drives me crazy when I get this from other people, is I would export the stereo ones first and then export the mono ones separately. So I've got mono and stereo files working as mono. It's not the end of the world, but I'd rather do that. So you export them all and you put them in a folder in a safe place. And then you've got the native audio. It's not the audio with the plugins on it. It's the audio that was recorded on the timeline. But the last thing I would do as well then, and you can do, is you can then come in and track by track. It's easier in Pro Tools 11, but you could do it in any version, is you can bounce the tracks. So let's take this kick. It's on its own. So let's solo that kick. So we've got the kick. So what we can then do, if we open these channels up a bit further, we can go right mouse click, bounce. Make sure your click track's turned off, because if it's not, you'll get the click as well. And we can bounce that. We can say bounce, and we can say kick archive with plugin. And we can import after bounce as well. We bounce it. We'll do an offline bounce of that, and then it will eventually come into the track. And then we could have a set of stems that are clean and a set of stems that have all the plugins built in as well. So there we go. And then what you then have, you've got folders. You've got a folder of the clean stuff. You've got a folder of the stuff with the plugins applied to it. And you've also got all your plugins set not as the presets within Pro Tools, but the presets within the plugins. That then gives you a completely future-proof archive of your Pro Tools sessions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.